Ron Atkins, this amazing British actor. You know him probably from you've seen Monty Python and all the other wonderful sketch shows that he did, and movies and everything that he does. I'm pretty sure it's Sir Ron Atkins. I imagine he's in it. Asked a very poignant question during one of the Christmas specials of Blackadder. And it was a really nice, really nice consideration because he's an author himself. He writes himself, and he asked in this feature, what was it that Jesus said that made him so globally necessarily distributed? I mean, he's the biggest written in red, practically author on the face of the world. Everybody knows, and he's like, what did he say that was so moving and so powerful and so potent that everybody had to have a piece of it? It's important what he said. What he said to the Sanhedrin and stuff. It's more important what he did or didn't do. Is the things he did and didn't do. And obviously, if he was smart enough to do these things or not do these things, then the things he said are also very poignant and powerful and prudent and very prowess. Very, very, very prowess. So he's going to speak some cool things, but he didn't actually write much that said. He realized something, and then he was tempted. I've already said this in loads of videos. Like, he was tempted, and he wasn't tempted to fornicate with a wife at all. You didn't see like a vision or a scene with Jesus saying, "Here is this beautiful, beautiful lady, and compare to her and fornicate with her, and you go to a dream realm where you have the best sex ever," or something. I don't know. Hash in heaven's like, I don't know. I've never been there. I can't butt fuck myself, kind of thing. Excuse me. But everyone else can, And we had 12 different gypsy syndicates all around the world, if not more, at all one time, constantly focusing on me and using separate different gypsy techniques and tormenting me and tearing me apart. I don't think anybody had it this bad because you're all very modern, and there's so many of you and there's so much communication that I don't think any prophet or Lord has been buggered so massively and for so long. This is what I thought was cool. Ron Atkins. So yeah, it wasn't what he did, but then the irony was like somebody like Ron Atkins can very easily save me. And I already made this video, The Lamb Loved the Lion, and very easily resolved to this entire situation. And it might be difficult, it might be scary getting to me. Like the Matrix might just start turning against you and start wanting to kill you. And realize getting to me is very difficult because there's so many hexes and playthroughs, and they're using my name ironically to prevent you from getting to me. But anyone with a microphone and some public representation, this is exactly what Jesus had. John the Baptist was in a ditch, starving and crying alone with a big dreadlocks hippie head on him, and they criticized him for the things that he ate and the clothes that he was wearing. Everybody eats stuff, and everybody, although he was like celibate and a vegan and just wore weird gowns and robes and things, they criticised him over everything down to a fine point where they're all probably murdering and buggering kids all day, every day. Like, he was like, they criticised his food and the clothes he wore. There's not a lot of looming, and there's a lot of famine also in the world, if you notice. But, I don't remember, sorry, it's terrible. So Jesus was this person. He was well connected, basically. Like I said in the other video, he was a bit of a posh boy. Kind of a bit of a posh boy in certain circles, giggles, But he was well connected. Jesus could go into the temple where loads of other gypsies could not go near the temple. Guards standing around the gypsies. And he walked up and he said, like, blah, 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 of Joseph and the blah, blah, blah family. And he's like, okay, yeah, go on in. He's like, my uncle's in here or something, my brother's in there. And I'm spoiling my movie, I am going to make this movie. But he went in and he spoke on John's behalf. And then there was a lot of controversy, wasn't there? There's some people like Paul, the Jewish elder, who agreed with Jesus. He's like, he's not wrong, actually. He's actually right. That's St. Paul of Rome, in Rome. And I think he got butchered by Rome. Everyone got butchered by Rome in the end. They all cut them up in the end. But St. Paul, as you know, like the big Christian super St. Paul, was a Jewish elder. And he agreed with the things that Jesus said about John and the situation that was going on, that they misunderstood. And there was a lot of Ahab and Jezebel and a lot of backwards, messed up religious and cults and cabals going on everywhere. Babylon, basically, for 900 years. Oblivion usually saves you a bit. That's what's terrible about it, because when you are obliviously buggering yourselves to doom, God kind of forgives you, but now it's like, you're going to hate me or love me for this. Jesus said, like, I forgive them. They know not what they're doing. And I can easily say, no, they know exactly what they're doing this time, because I told them so. I've I know, they know, because I've told them, Damien Rockefeller, all these other people that just wanted to know more and know more and know more and know, and I told them everything, and it's like, now you're fucked because you know too much. You didn't need to know anything in the first place, except that, like, Aloha God is, something like that. So Jesus was a bit of a posh boy, and he was kind of connected, and he had a microphone. And this is exactly the predicament that I need Mr. Ron Atkins. This is what Jesus did that made him so important. Because he was probably, they called him a trouble, they called him a traitor and things, and they called him a rebel rouser, and they called him all these kind of things. And you might get this on your way to me. They'll call you like a traitor, and they'll conspire, and they're very big and powerful people, I'd imagine. If you just don't be afraid at all, because the time you get to me or to my front door, I'll jump off you like John Connor bounced off the machine and made him immortal. If Boris Johnson comes to my front door and I jump off Boris Johnson, he'll be like immortal. That's what Jesus would do, and that's why Jesus was immortal, and he didn't die on the crucifix. He saved his life. He saved the Lord's life. He saved his Don. Levi was most responsible, most deserving of the family heirloom at the time, because he wasn't supposed to be the priest of the family, Levite, as I understand it, but then suffered long generations of being the priest of the family of Israeli royal family. Hey Jude, you owe your bro big time. Hey, I've already said that the Joseph family already saved the Levite, so actually Islam can't save me on this event, and it's actually true. Islam can't save me, because if Islam saved me, they wouldn't listen to either me and Islam. They need the Christian white boy to get up and speak on their behalf separately, And I don't want to spoil it, but they won't listen to me and Islam, sadly. But if Islam want to come to Ireland and you're welcome to Ireland to chop off like the heads and hands of loads of scarlet infidels, man. Oh, there's so many scarlet infidels. They just sit around all day. They got like silent Kabuls and like guard stations and guards all over the country. And I don't really have the energy to kind of go William Wallace on it and go around. And I don't want to thou shalt not kill. And I don't want to insurge or anyone or provoke death in any sort of way, because there's a lot of corruption and confusion. So you wouldn't know who's a scarlet infidel. Most of Sinn Féin, the Northern Nazi Party. Yeah, I think they're all balls deep in it. I mean, they're beyond balls deep in it. You know what I mean? But so yeah, that's what Jesus did to save John the Band. That's Mr. Ron Atkins, I guess. Mr. Ron Atkins was actually, as a nightly, was supplying some sort of a tutelage towards me. And there's funny scenes in this internet humour. You see Ron Atkins in kind of like a dark Jedi wear, and he's eating kind of like biscuits and cookies, and then he sees behind him Anakin burning in the lava, and he's like, "Oh shit!" Like a real Mr. Bean. Ooh, fuck. And it might have been what was happening. Like he got distracted or misled or something. I wouldn't ask Mr. Knightley Ron Atkins to supply such tutelage for me. But I'd rather be on my own. I really don't like people waiting on me, especially Mr. Ron Atkins waiting on me. But yeah. So it's interesting that he asked this very good speculation, because Mr. Ron Atkins, or someone, maybe even Mr. Ron Atkins, could actually come out and save me fearlessly and very calmly. Like an actor can control their nerves very well. He might just get out without getting worried or frightened and get to me. And really that he asked what was it that Jesus did or said that made him so globally known and recognised, despite the fact that Mr. Ron Atkins is very globally saturated in the Western world, I suppose, or maybe other countries. Very much so, but still, if he were to do this thing, then ironically he would actually have this necessary recognition that gospel truth needs its necessary recognition. More so to the point where Jesus was like the centre figure of the Gospels, and not much to do with John even. You know what I mean? Didn't even have much to do with St. John Baptist Divine. They went out, but they don't really want you to know the explicit truth, because Jesus reaches perfection in this new temple. So it's almost like, this is even better. Then you don't even know what the lordship just up to the very end, which was with the Levite, what the temple was like up until the very end, because there was a whole new temple, and it was true. That fucking staff of Jesus Christ. Oh, thanks for the beers. Beer is bread, sour grapes. But first we have beer. I will teach you everything. But first we make beer. Yes. So this is my little joke. One of my little jokes. That if I don't say it was Jesus. If Jesus was immortal, Jesus disappeared in a big fiery ball, like, and ascended up into heaven like Elijah. Again, and the eventuality that he was immortal, and he like travelled west and west, and he was like completely immortal, and everywhere he go, maybe he was completely immortal, you know, and like, but at the same time, it's like he knew he was under bad lordship because they were off fighting over his temple for about 500 years or something like this. It was very nasty and messy, despite, you know, being very blatantly demonstrated. And everywhere he went, he knew God doesn't like beer very much. That's why Islam are very very holy. But God doesn't like you drink beer too much or eating bread. It's a poetry. I know it's a wonderful poetry. I love it when you understand it. But God doesn't really want you drinking beer, or not God, but then true lordship. So it's weird. So if you have bad lordship, a time of bad lordship, drinking beer will help you escape from the bad lordship. But if you have good lordship, then you celebrate by drinking beer. Any excuse to keep drinking the beer. No, sorry. So yeah, he's like, first I'll tell you, because if he had educated them and talked to them and got into their heads and got installed, then they would have met with like some serpenty impulse inside them that would have made them reject and get angry and fight against him. And as we said, teach you and talk to you, but first we get drunk. And escape lordship for a while, so the bad lordship in everybody won't go like Agent Smith and turn against him, because he had that problem. So that's what he went around doing now. His lads like, yes, but first we make beer. It was something the Native Americans first said when like Portuguese people and all reached out to America. And the first thing they came up to him was like, beer? We make beer? And the first thing was like, oh, I wonder who got out west first. The adventurers of Jesus. He set sail in a little avocado after destroying half of Skellig Michael. Skellig Michael used to be the mainland, and everything got destroyed except Jesus and his little temple and off the end of Skellig Michael. Where the lines lay, you know what I mean? That's where the lines lay. Don't know if they changed it, that's where some of the lines lay. I used to be a great expeditioner, you know. Oh, the Congo, Mr. Burns, I've seen it. So yeah, that's how you get a donkey out of a ditch. You get a microphone, boom, and you let him drop his microphone skills. If I'm so, like, you know, merciful and patient, and, you know, I have duties, but this world has buggered me and robbed me, and, you know, they're systematically hunting and raping and abducting everybody I've ever loved. Anyone. If I see you on the internet and you're playing guitar and it's like, oh, you're pretty clever, well done, you'll be disappeared tomorrow. Yeah. And I've got like, a terrible, you know, survivor's guilt, being immortal. I'm stuck in the middle of this predicament. I'm sorry not to be talking about myself. A lot of people are dead, crucified. I feel terrible. No, I got down to the very centre crux when they tried to disembowel me, and stop caring for them. Stop caring for them. Which I didn't. At the same time, I still didn't. I'm going crazy that day. Don't get out of my sight. Yeah, so that's just Ron Atkins. That's what Jesus did. That's why Jesus is so masterfully celebrated. I said he wasn't tempted by the women at all, but then he was tempted. Not to say there was anything to do with his demeanor or anything or his life, but he was tempted with like the fortune of John, the fortune of the Lord. It's like, I'll give you his fortune. I'll give you the world. I'll give you all the kingdoms. And what I already had this premise. I wasn't tempted by either of these things because I was celibate and a Taoist. So it was just like, there's no such thing as ownership. It was just like, it's all this mutual negotiations between stupid monkeys. And it was like, to me, it's all like this fabric and cloth and skin of holy sacredness. So no, I don't even believe in ownership. And then they used that as an excuse to rob me, which was hilarious. Because there was like the funny one happened with Krishna as well. So he was the Krishna Lord, kind of Taoist. He was Krishna. He's like, no, I don't care about property or stuff either. I don't care about women and I don't care about property. And they're like, oh, Grant, we'll take all your women and property then. And that's exactly what they did. They're very childish about it. It's like, he doesn't care for prostitutes and money. He's like, well, let's take all his friends and family in turn, or whatever it is, and all his holy fortune. I heard Damien bragging recently. He's a gazillionaire. I'm thinking, oh man, I'm a gazillionaire. Big responsibility, big responsibility. You watch my Rockefeller IED, and you got a lot more fucking responsibility in life, don't you? How are you gonna balance out all that potential next to being such a sodomite, lazy, miserable wanker? Be careful now what I say, actually. There's new laws in Dutch. You can't say anything. My uncle's a very high saluting solicitor. He's also a ninja. He's like bulletproof in every way. He's very bulletproof. But he wasn't happy about that. It's like, you can't call a criminal anymore. It's like, it's illegal to call a criminal. Or something like this. Like, he wasn't happy about it. Or you can't call a kitty killer, basically. You can't talk about that. It's like, well, you're fucking getting away with it while you can't talk about it. Like, killing kids all over the fucking country and religious absurdity, and like, oh, you can't talk about it. What's going to stop it then? And it was lots of deaths over religious absurdity in this country, and I told them that was going on. They didn't listen to me. They called me crazy. And then it's on the radio. Oh, we own these kids. We know better than you about the cycles of life. Now they're gypsies and they're just killing kids. I mean, gypsies, wealthy men from Florida. Making up names here like Roth van der Bergstein. But, is it all the traitor Jews and the Nazi royalty that conspired together in America and had lots of degenerate, horrible children, and they're the epitome of everything that everybody hates? Traitor Jews and Nazi royalty. And they're sadistic from both sides a bit. And they're just swine of all earth. Save on the gas bill. Everyone's thinking about this. They save on the gas bill and just put about 30 of these gypsies in the chambers. Rather than save on the gas bill. It'll be death or exile. We saw this in a Batman movie. And I'm like such a hippie vegan, I won't kill them. You can die by my hand or you can go into exile. I was like, I won't kill you. I won't harm you, I wouldn't give a fuck, I won't harm you. But if you did choose to die by my hand, I'd like say a little prayer for you out in exile. But if you don't choose to die by my hand, you'll go into exile, out into Sinai, and you'll find God like Abraham did. And you'll wander in Sinai until you find it, and then God will be like, actually, Abraham, I can't forgive you, but maybe your great-grandchildren. I realised that I thought it was grandchildren. I think it's great-grandchildren. So maybe if you learn to sustain and provide for yourself for 3 or 4 generations, then I might find you tolerant, because that's probably like the efforts and the basic effort that some real man, or some godly man had to make to supply for 3 generations or 4 generations, and maybe I'll forgive your 4th generation if you do this well. So that's what's ahead of you. That's like your mission, your brave mission of redemption ahead of you, off out in the desert in Sinai. Or worse than Sinai. Sinai is probably respectively nice these days, being in between Egypt and all, and the fact that it's the Moses Strip. I think it'd be a cool kick-ass pilgrimage. I'd love to do that. Walk from Egypt up into Israel. It'd be fucking awesome. Because you're likely to follow the same pathways as you took if you were careful about it and you research it. Once they get to the fucking South Bank, or the West Bank, isn't it? Around that corner there, they probably definitely were walking around the bank. Maybe, it'd be pretty sweet to know that, like, the fucking gypsy Babylon buggered Israelites were like wandering through there with Moses. The hardest working prophet, you know what I mean? The hardest working prophet. And he was a prophet. I said this in an interview, Jews like worship like Abraham and Moses, and neither of these were a lord. Like, it's really they might have achieved lordship. I don't know, I'm not sure about it, but neither of these people were lords. Abraham was repentant. He was the one wandering in Sinai that repented. Like, he was the first one to repent. And he was in exile. He was the one of the first people to repent. And Moses was a prophet delivered about 400 or 500 years after a lord got cheated, who might have been Enoch or Enoch's son or something like this. A lord got cheated. neither of these people are lords, and you're supposed to respect true lordship. That's what it's kind of about, like this plant that grows, and you need to respect true lordship. So, yeah, I don't know, this is just... Maybe because it was the Joseph Islamic family again, and it saved the day that they just won't respect Joseph. I'm going to have them all hugging each other, like a Christian mass now. Turn to each other as you brothers and freaking give a loving sign of peace. Be holding guns to all their head. You will love your brother. I'm Jacob, I didn't even believe that. I was like, your name's Jacob. And I was like Israel. I was like,